Have you ever wondered what truly matters in life? When everything changes, what can your heart hold on to? What remains when everything else fades away? Welcome back to Son.Mindfulness. I am grateful to have you here today. Life moves so quickly, we gain so much and lose so much. We try to hold on, but nothing stays the same. Maybe you have felt afraid of change. Maybe you have asked yourself, what is permanent in my life? Maybe you are searching for a deeper peace. Today, we will explore a truth that brings comfort, a way the Buddha discovered long ago, a way to find freedom in the middle of real life. Here on Son.Mindfulness, we learn together. We talk about love, loss, aging, and hope. We find wisdom in our ordinary days. We support each other on this human journey. If you find meaning in these messages, please subscribe and stay connected with us. Your presence helps keep this peaceful community alive. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you be calm and happy. May good things gently find you. Now, I invite you to stay with me. What we explore today may change how you see everything. Are you ready to discover what truly matters? Let us begin. Part 1. The reality of impermanence. My dear friends, as you sit here with me today, I invite you to take a gentle breath. Feel this moment arrive, and notice how, even as you recognize it, it is already passing. Nothing we ever touch, not even time itself, stays still. You and I have known this truth since childhood. We watched our toys break. We watched the seasons roll in and roll away again. We held the hands of those we loved, and one day realized those hands could no longer hold back time. Impermanence. It is a word that sounds philosophical, like something from an ancient text. But it isn't distant from us. It is here in every heartbeat. It is the quiet truth behind every joy, every sorrow, every beginning, and every goodbye. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked in the mirror and been surprised by the face looking back? Perhaps the gray hair that once was not there. Perhaps the smile lines, each one a record of laughter and tears. Our bodies are the most honest storytellers. They age whether we agree with them or not. And yet, even knowing this, we often live as if everything should stay just the way we want it. We cling tightly to what we love, and we suffer when life continues doing what life always does: move, shift, transform, and slip through our fingers. But what if impermanence is not a thief? What if it is a teacher? The Buddha saw aging, sickness, and death, the kind of truths most people avoid facing, and instead of turning away, he looked deeper. He realized that because everything changes, everything is precious. Temporary does not mean meaningless. Temporary means alive. Imagine a beautiful piece of music. Would it move us if it never changed note? Imagine a story with no twists, no transformation. Would we learn anything? Imagine love that never grows, never deepens through shared joys and hardships. Would it still be love? It is precisely because moments end that they matter. The first steps of a child, the last hug with a dear friend, the way sunlight looks on your dining table in the quiet of morning. None of these will ever come again in quite the same way. So they invite us to pay attention, to truly be here. Sometimes, when loss arrives, when the diagnosis comes, when a friend moves away, impermanence feels like cruelty. The heart aches, and we would do anything to stop the clock. But let's imagine a different world for a moment. A world where nothing changes. Your pain would never ease. Your mistakes would define you forever. Every difficult season would trap you with no way out. Impermanence is not the enemy. It is the condition that allows healing, growth, rebirth. It is why winter becomes spring. It is why grief softens. It is why even the deepest hurts can one day become wisdom. I once sat with an elderly man whose wife had passed away after 50 years of marriage. He told me, because I knew every moment with her would end, I learned to treasure them. I loved her harder because time kept reminding me she was a gift. He didn't deny the pain of losing her, but he recognized the beauty that had been possible, only because their days were limited. You see, impermanence and love walk together. One gives the other its meaning. And yet, it isn't easy, is it? Our human hearts crave certainty. We want guarantees. We want to hold tight to what makes us happy, hoping happiness will last forever. But happiness is like a butterfly. The more we try to clutch it, the more fragile it becomes. So the Buddha invited us to practice something revolutionary, to open our hands a little, to let life flow instead of trying to trap it. I know many of you who watch this are older, wise souls who have seen many transitions. Children who grew up and moved away, careers that changed, friends who are no longer here. Your heart carries a library of impermanence, but it also carries a library of moments that mattered. Moments that changed you. Moments of connection that still warm you when you think of them. Those moments are what impermanence gifts us. The ability to say, "Thank you, I was alive for that." So here is the heart of the matter. If everything ends, then everything shines. If everything fades, then everything is sacred. Perhaps the question is not how can I stop change, but rather, how can I love more fully while life is here? Tonight or tomorrow morning, when you sip your coffee, feel the warmth before it cools. When you speak to someone you cherish, listen to their voice like it is a miracle, because it is. When you watch the sun setting, know that this sunset will never come again. Impermanence whispers to us constantly, "Pay attention, this moment matters." And if we listen, life becomes not something we fear losing, but something we are grateful to experience, even for a little while. So, my dear friend watching this, what is one precious thing in your life right now that you may not have noticed fully? Can you pause, even just for a breath, and honor it? Because before long, it will become a memory. And memories are the footprints of impermanence. Let us keep walking gently, let us keep remembering, and let us keep loving, not despite impermanence, but because of it. Part 2. 2 levels of truth. Conventional versus ultimate. My dear friends, now that we have opened our eyes a little more to the nature of impermanence, let us look deeper into how the Buddha understood reality itself. Because the world we live in is not just one world, it is at least 2. There is the world we walk through each day, the world of names and roles, relationships and responsibilities, the world where we say, "This is my home, that is my family, these are my achievements, this is who I am." And yet, beneath that familiar landscape there is another reality, a quieter one, a deeper one, a world that reveals itself only when we pause the noise of our minds long enough to notice. The Buddha called these 2 perspectives samuttisaka, conventional truth, and paramittasaka, ultimate truth. And both are true, just in different ways. Let me share a simple story. A woman once came to me overwhelmed by grief after losing her job. She said, "Without my position, who am I now?" Have you ever felt something like that? When a role disappears and suddenly your sense of identity trembles? At the conventional level, her work mattered greatly. It provided purpose, security, community. But when she began to look deeper, when we explored together what remained untouched, she found something else within herself. Compassion, resilience, the ability to learn and begin again. Qualities that no company could grant, and no company could take away. That deeper reality didn't cancel out the hardship she faced. It simply helped her see that she was more than the label she had lost. You see, at the everyday level, we must honor the truth that life has structures. There are bills to pay, children to care for, friends to cherish, and these matter tremendously. The Buddha never taught us to abandon this world. Instead, he taught us not to become imprisoned by it. Have you ever watched the ocean? At the surface, waves rise and fall, some gentle, some violent. They can look separate, each with their own story. But if you look deeper, it's all water, one connected movement. Our lives are the waves, but ultimate truth is the ocean. Our bodies change cell by cell. Our thoughts flicker like fireflies, appearing, dancing, disappearing. Our emotions come and go like weather, sunny one moment, storming the next. And yet we often say, I am this thought. I am this feeling. This is me. But is it? Or is self more like a story, constantly rewritten, yet we cling to it as if carved in stone? Science, interestingly, agrees. Neuroscientists can find no fixed core self inside the brain, only processes firing moment to moment, patterns constantly changing. The Buddha saw this 2,600 years ago. Through deep observation of the mind, he realized that anything that changes cannot be a permanent identity. Now, does this mean nothing matters? No. It means everything matters differently. When we look only from the surface, from the conventional level, we believe we must protect our ego at all costs. We compete, we compare, we fear losing what we think defines us. But when we see from the deeper level, we understand that nothing was ever truly separate to begin with. The one you call other shares the same nature as you. The boundaries we draw, this is mine, that is yours, are practical for daily life, but they are not the final truth. And recognizing both levels is what makes life whole. Because if we ignore the conventional truth, neglect relationships, reject responsibilities, we drift into denial and spiritual bypassing. We pretend to be spiritual while running away from the human world. But if we ignore the ultimate truth, clinging tightly to identities and possessions, we suffer whenever life inevitably changes. The wisdom is in holding both, living fully in the world of waves, while remembering we are also the ocean. Let me ask you something, my friend. Can you remember a time when something you thought you could never live without eventually passed? A heartbreak that felt like it would end you, but somehow you healed? A change that frightened you, but ultimately helped you grow? In those moments, you touched both truths. You felt the pain of the wave, and eventually, the vastness of the ocean. When we understand these two layers of reality, a beautiful shift happens. We still care, deeply, but more wisely. We still love, fully, but with more spaciousness. We show up for life, but we don't cling as if we could stop the tides. So here's the invitation for this week. Live your life wholeheartedly. Cherish your roles, your loves, your commitments. They are real, and they give life meaning. But when the ocean rises and changes the shape of the waves, when a chapter closes, when impermanence knocks on your door, remember this deeper truth. You are not just the story you are living. You are also the awareness that holds the story. And that awareness is not fragile. It does not age. It does not disappear when circumstances shift. It is the ocean that makes room for every wave. So let us walk gently between both truths, feet on the earth, heart open to the infinite, knowing that what we care for in this world is real, and yet not the whole story. Part 3. What matters in everyday life? Ethics, kindness, genuine living. My dear friends, as we talk about deeper truths in the ocean beneath the waves, you might wonder, so then, what do I do with my ordinary life? My family, my responsibilities, my work, do these still matter? And the Buddha's answer was wonderfully clear. Yes, they matter deeply. You see, the Buddha did not teach only kings, monks, or hermits living in the mountains. He spent much of his life guiding merchants, parents, farmers, soldiers, ordinary people trying to build ordinary happiness. People like you and me. People who laugh, worry, try their best, and still make mistakes. He didn't say throw everything away and go to a cave. Instead, he said something far more profound. Live beautifully, right where you are. Because here, in the everyday details of life, is where the heart is shaped. Here is where spiritual practice truly unfolds. Let me ask you, When you look back on your life, what moments stand out the most? Is it the title you had? The size of your house? The number in your bank account? Or is it the time you cared for someone who needed you? The time you were forgiven? The time you hugged a child who trusted you? The time a stranger smiled and made you believe again in kindness? We know the answer. We feel it in our bones. Ethics, honesty, compassion, generosity is not just morality. It is what makes us human. It is what connects us, heals us, and gives us dignity. I once visited a man near the end of his life. He had achieved wealth and status, the kind people admire from afar. But as he lay in bed, he didn't speak of accomplishments. He said, "I just hope I was kind enough, not successful enough, not admired enough, kind enough." Why? Because at the edge of life, the heart remembers only two things: how deeply we loved and how gently we lived. The Buddha called this karma, not as punishment or reward, but as a simple truth of the heart. What you choose shapes who you become. A kind action plants a seed. Honesty plants a seed. Patience plants a seed. And one day those seeds grow into the person you are. We may think small kindness doesn't matter. Holding a door open, listening without interrupting, putting aside our pride to say, "I'm sorry." But these small moments ripple outward. They soften a world that often feels harsh. They touch lives we may never know we've touched. And according to Buddhist wisdom, their effects extend beyond this lifetime. Your goodness does not vanish. Now let's be honest. Living with integrity is not always easy. Sometimes doing the right thing looks like losing. Sometimes honesty costs us something. Sometimes compassion breaks our heart open. But my friends, a heart that breaks can hold more. A heart that never opens stays small. Spiritual growth doesn't begin on meditation cushions. It begins in how you speak when you're frustrated, how you treat people who can't benefit you, how you show up when no one is watching. Have you ever noticed how peaceful it feels after doing the right thing? That deep exhale, that quiet smile, as if your soul says, "Yes, this is who I want to be." That is real happiness, not pleasure, not distraction, not temporary comfort. Happiness rooted in goodness is happiness that ages well. So as we continue walking this path, let us remember, you don't need to leave your life. You need to bring wisdom into your life. Be gentle with your spouse, they are aging with you. Call your children, even when they forget to call back. Speak kindly, our words can either wound or heal. Earn your living in ways that don't harm others. Money gained with integrity is wealth of the highest kind. Everyday life is not the obstacle to spiritual awakening. Everyday life is the path. I ask you now, when you wake up tomorrow, can you choose one small act of goodness, one gesture of care, one moment of courage to do what your heart knows is right? Because every time you choose kindness in a world that often forgets it, you are keeping the Buddha's teaching alive. Not in ancient scriptures, but in your breath, in your voice, in your hands, in the way you live and love. And that, my dear friend, is what truly matters. Part 4. The deeper release. Craving, suffering, and the path to liberation. My dear friends, we have talked about impermanence, that everything changes. We have talked about living ethically in a world that is always shifting. Now we arrive at a more intimate question. If change and loss are inevitable, why do we suffer so deeply when they come? It is not change that hurts us. It is our resistance to change. It is not the loss itself that breaks us. It is the part of us that whispers, "No, it cannot be this way. Not to me." We cling. We grasp. We demand life to stay the way we want, even though life has never promised such a thing. The Buddha saw this clearly. The root of suffering is craving, a thirst inside the mind that always wants more. More pleasure, more security, more control, more certainty. We chase one desire after another like a dog chasing its tail, tired, dizzy, and never satisfied. Let me ask you gently, have you ever gotten what you wanted and still felt something missing? Like joy that doesn't quite stay, or fulfillment that melts into new longing? This is the human condition. What we gain today, we fear losing tomorrow. What comforts us now may disappoint us later. So the Buddha invited us to look deeper, to see that the peace we seek outside must ultimately be found inside. Not as a possession, but as a transformation in how we relate to life. Imagine holding a beautiful flower in your hand. One way is to grip tightly, fearful it will fall, fearful it will wither. Your hand grows tired, your mind grows anxious, the flower eventually dies anyway, and your suffering grows with it. But another way exists. You can hold the flower gently, admire it, care for it, rejoice while it is still in bloom, and when its petals fall, let them fall. Love does not require possession, joy does not require permanence. Peace does not require control. This is what happens when craving dissolves. We can still love fully, but without fear. We can still live deeply, but without clinging. We can still care genuinely, but without trying to freeze time. And then peace becomes not a delicate treasure we guard nervously, but a clarity that no one can steal. This understanding is connected to another profound teaching, non-self, Anattā. There is no permanent I inside us that needs to be protected. No solid identity that life could destroy. There is only a flow, a river of thoughts, memories, sensations, and feelings that rise and fall. We spend so much energy defending a self that is always changing anyway. What if we learn to relax our grip on the idea of me and mine? What if freedom begins the moment we stop trying to possess what can only be borrowed? I once sat with a woman who had spent years grieving her son. She told me, "I thought letting go meant forgetting him, but now I realize letting go means I can remember him without breaking." That is liberation. A heart still full of love, but no longer drowning in its own sorrow. Some people think liberation sounds cold, like indifference, but it is the opposite. It is a love so spacious that it doesn't suffocate either the lover or the loved. You can still enjoy a beautiful home, but know it is not your identity. You can still succeed in work, but know your worth does not depend on praise. You can still cherish a partner, but not demand that they fill every emptiness inside you. You become whole, and in your wholeness, you stop asking others to complete you. This is why the Buddha called Nibbana, awakening, the highest happiness. Not because it overwhelms the senses, but because it frees us from the tyranny of craving. Peace that depends on conditions is temporary. Peace that arises from wisdom is unshakable. So here is the heart of this teaching. We do not need to abandon life to be free. We need only to abandon the illusion that life must unfold according to our desires. Let us live fully and let go lightly. Let us care deeply and release gracefully. Let us hold everything in our lives the way we would hold a butterfly in our hands, with wonder, with love, and with the willingness to let it fly when its time comes. My dear friend watching this, if peace has felt fragile in your life, perhaps it is because you've been holding it too tight. Let go. Just a little, not of the people or things you love, but of the fear of losing them. When you do, you will find that freedom has been patiently waiting inside your own heart all along. Part 5. The path is for everyone. Walking toward freedom in ordinary life. My dear friends, there is one more misunderstanding we must set down gently. For generations, many have believed that true peace, true spiritual awakening, belongs only to monks in saffron robes or hermits meditating in mountain caves. That enlightenment is reserved for those who leave behind the everyday world. But the Buddha never taught that wisdom is only for a chosen few. He taught that liberation is a human possibility, and as long as we are human, the path is open. You don't need to shave your head. You don't need to leave your home. You don't need to abandon the people you love. You don't need to sit in silence for hours every day. You can begin right here, in your living room, in your car, in conversation with someone who matters to you, even while washing dishes at the sink. Because the path is not a destination. It is a way of walking, a way of seeing the world, a way of responding to life with a wiser heart. The Buddha expressed this path in 8 harmonized elements, the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These are not commandments, they are invitations, invitations to live in alignment with what brings peace rather than suffering. Let's bring this down to earth. Right view isn't about having perfect philosophy. It's beginning to look at life with honesty. Yes, everything changes, and yes, I can still love. Right intention is not forcing positive thinking, it's choosing kindness over cruelty, choosing patience over reaction, choosing understanding over blame. Right speech is noticing the power of your words, the moment before you speak, the moment that decides whether your voice will heal or harm. Right action happens every day when you help instead of hurt, when you return a kindness with gratitude, when you do the right thing even when no one sees. Right livelihood is earning your living in ways that don't break your moral compass. Money that supports your life while allowing others to live theirs with dignity. Right effort is not working harder, it is working gently on the things that matter. Watering wholesome qualities, starving the ones that cause harm. Right mindfulness is coming home to the present moment, feeling your breath, noticing your steps, listening without distraction, being absolutely here, even for a few seconds. Right concentration is finding quiet in the mind, not through force, but by giving attention to one thing with love, allowing the mind to settle like a lake at dawn. None of these require a monastery. They require only willingness. A shift in attitude, a softening of the heart. You might think, but I'm too old to start such a path. No, my dear friend, your years are not a burden. They are your greatest spiritual asset. You have lived, you have seen impermanence unfold in countless forms. You know what truly matters and what doesn't. Your heart carries the wisdom of experience, the very soil in which liberation grows. I have met mothers who found deep awakening while holding their newborn at 3 a.m., workers who discovered mindfulness while quietly fixing broken pipes, grandparents who learned to let go, not in temples, but in the silence after a loved one's passing. Wherever a sincere heart meets the truth, there is the path. Let me ask you something. What if enlightenment is not a lightning bolt moment? What if it is a slow turning, a gentle shift each time you choose compassion instead of anger, each time you take a breath instead of reacting automatically? Every moment you see craving arise and you do not feed it, you walk the path. Every moment you smile with tenderness at someone who is suffering, you walk the path. Every moment you pause and remember, this too is impermanent, you walk the path. Freedom doesn't always announce itself with trumpets. Sometimes it appears quietly, like a soft breeze through an open window. You suddenly realize your heart is lighter than before. Your fear is less controlling. Your love flows more freely. This is how awakening happens, step by step, breath by breath, choice by choice. So do not wait. Do not tell yourself the path is for someone holier than you, or younger, or wiser. You, exactly as you are, with your joys and griefs, your hopes and regrets, your imperfections and your courage, you are already on the path. Just keep going, with gentleness, with curiosity, with compassion, for yourself and for others. Because the whole purpose of Buddhism is not to escape life, but to discover a freedom that can walk hand in hand with life. And my dear friend, if you're listening to these words, your journey is already unfolding. Conclusion. The ending that is also a beginning. My dear friends, thank you for walking with me through these reflections. We have seen that nothing lasts forever. This truth helps us love more fully now. We have seen there are two levels of reality. The waves matter, but the ocean holds everything. We have seen ordinary life is spiritual practice. Every kindness shapes the person you become. We have seen suffering comes from clinging. Letting go brings clarity and peace. We have seen the path is for everyone. You can walk it gently, wherever you are. What touched your heart today? What truth did you recognize from your own life? Have you noticed how change has taught you wisdom? Has loss helped you love more sweetly? Is there something in your life you can release a little? Take a breath. Notice this moment. It will never return again. Does that make it more precious? Yes, it always has been. You are already practicing. Each time you choose patience over anger, each time you speak with kindness, each time you breathe instead of worrying, you water the seeds of liberation. I want to ask you something. What is one small act of compassion you can offer tomorrow? Could you call someone you miss? Could you smile at a stranger who looks tired? Could you forgive a hurt you have carried too long? Please share your answer in the comments. I would love to read your heart. You have listened with an open spirit. This is a gift to yourself. It is also a gift to the world. When one heart awakens, many hearts feel the light. Thank you for spending your precious time with me. Time is the most generous offering we have. I hope something here brought you peace. I hope something here gave you strength. I hope something here reminded you of who you truly are. If you found value in this teaching, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please continue walking with me on Son.Mindfulness. We will explore many more beautiful teachings together. You are not alone on this path. We are fellow travelers, growing wiser, one breath at a time. Before we part for today, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you be peaceful, may you be happy. May good things gently find you. The Buddha said, all things are passing away. Strive on with diligence. So let us keep going. Softly, bravely, with love. Thank you, my dear friend. I bow to the goodness within you. Until we meet again.